Man, it makes me want some coffee.
Hey, Michael.
Hey, how you doing, buddy? Welcome,
Amazing.
one
How
and
are you?
all. Oh, I tell you, I'm about as excited as you can get because for one, I've got some coffee, and two, we got the podcast here, and I can do my Italian impersonation of a mobster I saw in a movie one time. You know what I'm saying, yeah. How's your
We could do
week?
that the whole show.
Oh no, I'm not nearly that talented, sir. I enunciate. So
Good to see you.
we are here today to talk about the importance of friendships. And if you can't really tell, we're probably as awkward as they come, but we're having a good time and we're not going to apologize. We're just going to sit here and drink coffee like, I don't know, a couple of regular swells. So, Alex, you usually lead us off with a prayer request. Anybody you know in need this week, feel free to call them up.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my grandma just went through a surgery and they had to do some reconstruction on her digestive system and just got word today that she's off the respirator. She's doing much better. I come from her family, so we're all stubborn. And so she's proven that. And she's proven that God is good. And so we'll continue to pray for her. And I haven't had a lot of prayer requests come my way, but if you'd like to send us some prayer requests, definitely send them our way. So it'll be kind of a general prayer. So let's have a moment of silence and then we'll begin. Dear loving and gracious God, we just come before you and we praise you. We exalt your holy name. And we just want you to know that we love you and we honor you and we respect you. And we just ask for a special blessing over Michael and myself as we have a live broadcast and we have a responsibility to share wisdom with others, share information with others, and share entertainment with others. Let us do a good job today and bless Michael to have great spirits today, tomorrow, and each day leading after this because he is a champion and we thank you for that. Please bless my grandma Mary to continue healing and thank you for all the prayers that have been surrounding her. Just bless this nation, this world as we continue to adjust to the new normal and freedom is being spoken of in many circles. Let that freedom reign and let justice be had everywhere, anywhere, in all places, and for the good of your kingdom. And we just pray for forgiveness of all those that have sinned and for higher vibrations to radiate throughout this earth. We love you and we praise you. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
So, today we're trying something a little different, Alex and I, and instead of a heavy-hearted topic, we decided we're going to focus on something I think not only most of us, but I think all Americans need right now, and that is friends. And we're going to talk today about the importance of friendships. And it's not just because we're in dire times, but it's something we need to cherish a lot more, especially when times are good. Because it's easy to take for granted when things are good, but they only really last when you take care of them always.
It's true. Before we get into the topic, let's talk about what you chose as today's coffee of the day.
Now, today's coffee is especially dark. In fact, it's so dark, in fact, that people cross themselves before they drink it. It is the darkest coffee served by Old Crown Roasters. It makes a French roast look light. Now, this is not for the faint of heart, but if you are a lover of coffee like myself, and you want something that'll raise the hair on your neck, look no further. And we give it out to Old Crown. They're keeping people supplied throughout this entire episode. They're serving until 7 o'clock, 8 to 7, Monday through Friday, and they're even open Saturday. So please don't forget, gourmet coffee at one of the best local places you'll find, Old Crown Roasters, North Anthony.
Old Crown Roasters, our cups are lifted to you. Thank you for all you do.
Oh, yeah. So, today, let's start off by talking about how we met. Now, you've told this story. Let me give my version, okay? I'm a fat, unemployed loser. I'm just kidding. I was just starting my job as a DJ. I hadn't worked in several years, so to an extent that was true. And I show up to more or less orientation myself on how to DJ a wedding. Now, I got a little chance to meet you and your fam, and you showed up in cargo shorts, tennis shoes, and a T-shirt. And I'm like, what? And I'm over there in the corner awkwardly, just keeping to myself because I don't know anybody. And then a couple days later, I'm there to set up for you to be betrothed to the love of your life. And I
Now,
got to
hold
tell
up.
you,
Is there a dress code for rehearsal? I didn't know.
no, but I had a dress code because my boss made me. So like everybody else got to be legit, and I'm over there like, oh, I'm just gonna stay over here all by my lonesome. So I show up to this big convention center, and it's old school. It's got a history. It's pretty neato, and the decorations alone are impressive because to be able to do all that on a low budget and still make it so amazing, I was impressed with it, and I was humbled to be a part of it because you guys really were not only some of the friendliest people I knew, but I could see that you actually wanted to be married. Most people get married because they have family and like they're like, well, we got a bunch of kids, better at least look the part. Like you guys actually wanted to be married. I'm like, yes, this is what I'm talking about. So before it was over, though, I remember I was really moved by your pastor who said your vows for you. I mean, he was spot on. And Guy, wherever you're at, buddy, I hope you're doing well. And I actually thanked him and congratulated him on an excellent job. And then at one point, I walked up to you while you were chit-chatting, trying to get some food, and I told you I would love to say some words on your behalf. I never got the chance because things just got carried away, but I meant it from the bottom of my heart, and all I was going to say was it was an honor to be a part of this. It's one of the most beautiful days of my life, and I was literally just learning how to work sound equipment and watching two people who were in love tie the knot. And with that, feel free to take it away because I'm getting a little emotional over here.
That was such a fun day, and we got to choose the songs we were having played, and so we made a playlist for Brian, and Brian was playing it, and everyone said that the music was what made it so much fun. The fact that we were out there dancing made it so much fun, and so we were really, really small on the budget of. We had the wedding at Stephanie's mother's house and in the yard, and that was absolutely beautiful in itself. It rained earlier that day, then it stopped raining. The sun came out. That tree had all the flowers on the ground. We can see right here. That tree was just like perfect, and I think it was just wonderful that we got to meet on such a great day, which is almost 3 years ago now.
Mm-hmm. And it's hard to believe how long it's been. I mean, I'm not a DJ anymore, but I mean, it was an experience unlike any other, and it allowed me to meet you and your wife, who turned out to be some of the kindest and most caring friends I've known. And that's not something I take for granted. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's rarer than it should be.
Mm-hmm. I apologize you never got to say what you wanted to say on the microphone. I can't even like put myself back in that situation to remember that. Okay, and what actually happened was my dad wanted to say a large prayer, like a longer prayer, and I was like, okay, can you pray for dinner? And so he blesses the food, and then he's like, I never got the chance to say my prayer, and I was like, huh. So I took that opportunity away from multiple people. I apologize.
What's wrong with you? But hey, I understand it's your wedding day and you had bigger fish to fry, but I tell you, was it Eric? Like watching him with those dance moves and the kids, like, dude, I don't know how a guy his size can bust a move like that, but when you started playing some oldies doo-wop stuff, I mean, he was out there cutting the rug, and even though the floor was hardwood, I mean, woo! Oh, impressive.
Yeah.
But
so the next time I
like
saw
yesterday.
you, I think was at Brian's house. You had pulled up in your cool Volkswagen, and I didn't really know you, and I kind of was just starting to get to know you that day. And do you remember after we had met at the wedding, kind of the first interactions we had after that?
I do. You were taking a job to DJ for one night because Brian was short of hand, and you were helping fill a gap. It was you and your wife and your old. I cannot believe I can't remember the name of your red car. The red car. What's it called?
Monte Carlo. Yeah.
Yes. And somehow you could fit two full-size speakers in the trunk of that car. It reminds me of a De Niro line in the movie Analyze This. Analyze That. It's the sequel. He's just out of prison. He's a mobster, and he's trying to sell cars for a living. And he has a snotty couple who wants to take a look at Alexa. And he says, "Look at the size of that trunk. You can fit 2 or 3 bodies in there." And I'm like, yes. Needless to say, he was fired, but I mean, you got to give it up for Oscar Wilde, like wordplay like that.
Yeah.
But that's actually the next time I saw you after your wedding, and it was just brief, but we actually talked for a few minutes, and I asked where you were going, and moments like that, you don't even think about it at the time, but little did I know how much of a part I was going to play in your life. Because at first I thought, you were just, you guys were glad to have us there, but I didn't know that I would even see you again, because I usually didn't see too many clients afterwards. And it was actually not only a surprise, but kind of a blessing in a way.
Yeah, Brian was more than just our wedding DJ. I actually lived with him for a little while before me and Stephanie got married, and we had met in a weird way via Facebook, but we became good friends, and it led to other good friendships, like with you. Yeah. And so I didn't think I would see you again either, but it turned into we became really close friends, and now we have this crazy talk show together.
I know, right? I mean, it's borderline laughably insane, but it's a lot of fun. And while I oftentimes would get a little carried away on the microphone, one time I was trying to rhyme, and I said something to the tune of "Have a drink on me." And all of a sudden, Brian says, "Hey, I hope you've got like $2,000 in your pocket, because the bartender's going to hold you to it. People are lining up for free drinks." He says, "Wait, what?" And the bartender says, "Just kidding. I knew what you were doing. But next time, I'll hold you to it." I'm like, oh! But those kind of experiences, and my overly enthusiastic nature on a microphone, and surrounded by a steamy bar full of chain-smoking drunks — I'm just kidding, they were awesome people — that was my comeback from disability. That was my introduction back into the world. I was meeting people. I was making friends, associates. I was hanging out at the lake with some of the best people I've ever known. And I helped DJ the awesome Apostle Alex McDonald's wedding, even though really I stood in the background and watched Brian do all the work. Brian, you were awesome.
You were encouraging me, and I really appreciated that. And that's something that you've continuously done, is you've been encouraging. You've sometimes said things that most people can't say, and I've appreciated that about you.
And while we won't talk about what some of those are, because some things are very personal, I will say I've never told you a lie, and it's been my honor to be a part of your life. And there's ways I've helped you, but I hope you understand there's also a lot of ways you've helped me.
Yeah, it's reciprocal, if that's a word. I think that's a word.
It's called reciprocity, but yes, reciprocal is a word. And you know how I remembered that word in first grade? The Titanic was my first obsession in life. And one of the most important things, because I didn't know what the concept was at the time, but I remember they had 2-story tall reciprocating engines. These things were massive. So when you're a little kid and you think of something like just a part of a motor, the size of a 2-story house, I'm like, whoa, bro. And as I would age, I would use those associations to remember a lot of things. And that comes in handy when you know people who need a word of advice or wisdom, or they need something to help them give a speech. That is what I'm here for. Useless information nobody cares about, but somehow I make it work.
It's not all useless information if it can play into our conversation later on.
Well, when I was a little kid, I'm pretty sure nobody wanted to have Titanic trivia hour like I did, which was really my idea. Every time they asked us in the car, "What do you guys want to talk about?" I'm I'm like, hey, let's have a Titanic trivia. And they're like, I'm like, okay. But I will say, I mean, the fact I could read it at an adult level in first grade was not only miraculous, but it was probably the first sign that somebody should have told me I had autism. How far we've come.
Now, that's something that I was shared, like somebody shared that with me early on,
Yeah.
and I didn't really know what they meant by it. And so I didn't see anything peculiar about you when we first met. But then we took you to a seminar, and I had the information in my mind. I'm like, okay, what should we do to help him with this situation? So we get to the seminar, and you have your headphones on, you're walking around the back. I'm like, I hope he's okay. I don't know if he's okay. I don't know if I brought him to a bad place, if I put him in a bad situation. And so you've helped me understand disabilities even more. And so that's something I'm thankful for.
It's not something that I talk to everyone about, but I grew up in a pretty rough house, and I'm really sensitive to crowds and loud noise. And while it hasn't stopped me from getting better and making a lot of strides in life, sometimes just can't really help what it does to me to be around so much commotion. And I was interested to hear what people had to say, but there are times I got to have something, to diminish the noise. And really, all it was, it's just part of living with post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's not anything anybody did wrong. And I'm still glad you brought me along, because I learned something every time. But sometimes I just got to hang out in the back and take a step to the side when I need to.
And that's acceptable. So my stepdaughter Julia has Tourette's, and so I've
Uh huh.
understood that a little better by understanding you. And then her younger sister Rosalind is really sensitive to loud sounds, to
Uh huh.
certain sounds. Like she hates when I rub the carpet, and
Yeah.
it just drives her nuts. And then she's really sensitive to certain things. And so being friends with somebody that has a quote unquote disability has helped me understand that everyone is different and we're all unique, and they're really abilities, because you're a really deep thinker, you're really intelligent, and you can't have the same conversations with other people that I can with you. And so we went to the Disability Expo not too long ago, like maybe 3 years ago,
Uh
and
huh.
we got to be educated on so much and be so inspired by different things. And it changes your whole perspective on people when you start having friendships with people that are not the same as you.
Well, I think that's not only painfully accurate, but even I myself have needed to learn things about how to be around people who don't have disabilities. It's a two-way street. It's something that most people are uninitiated with, and there are times where it's incredibly difficult for me. But part of that comes from having trouble distinguishing the social cues. That's really just it's an easy way to explain autism. But as an article that I read recently referred to it actually as having a broken control panel. So all the wiring works fine, all the
Yeah,
machinery works fine.
yeah.
But when you don't have a mouse, how are you going to make the computer work? That's your control panel. You don't have a keyboard with all the keys attached. How are you going to make it work? That's what it's like living with autism. It's like a keyboard without your home row. Everything else is there, but you're going to have to learn new ways. And that's one of the hardest things I've had to learn how to do, but it has also been one of the most rewarding. And it's allowed me to touch the lives of people I never thought I would have.
So as a kid, you'd be wanting to play Titanic trivia, and people would be like, "Oh," and you wouldn't see that cue, right?
Yes. As a matter of fact, we'd be like, hey, Alex, you ever heard about the Titanic? 882 and a half feet long. Telling you what, man, hell of a ship. Made in Belfast. Irish hands, Irish steel. Ooh, yeah. And all of a sudden, 20 minutes later, when I run out of facts to talk about, you're like, were there any words in that? Because when you don't stop to wait for a response and you just keep talking, you're talking through people, not to people. And I had to learn that as a younger man. And the trouble is, people don't always make that easy to figure out. They don't understand. Not everybody has that. So if you don't make it clear to me your level of interest, how am I to know whether or not you're interested? How do I gauge that? And it's just as important that you communicate with me as it is for me to allow you time to do it.
That makes sense. And one of the thoughts that came to my mind is when I read Personality Plus, I found out that I was a choleric melancholy. And so I'm hard charging and I want to get things done, but I want to do it right. And so, you're making the face like, really? I've
Hard
never.
charging. Alex is hard charging. Wait, I don't know. But truth of the matter is, I would agree with that. You're just, everybody thinks that to be a great warrior, you've got to charge in with a sword and just screaming your head off. The truth is, like, some warriors understand that there is strength in restraint. And I think that's one of your greatest strengths. You know how to wait to strike when the iron's hot, as Confucius would say. And that is one of the most important things you'll ever learn in life is you don't run in head first, you wait until the moment is right.
Yeah, so I had to learn that by getting new information. Like you've got new information from that article. Like being married to my wife Stephanie, I could not listen. I would just be like, "You need to do this," and she's like, "Why are you being so demanding?" I'm like, "I'm just asking you if you'll do this." She's like, "No, you said do this," and I'm like, huh, "Did I really say that?" And so when it comes to friendships, you can understand yourself better by getting new information and applying that new information and having somebody that you trust that'll tell you the truth about things.
It's like that movie Look Who's Talking when she's going into labor. And at first she's all like, oh, I don't want to be on any drugs. I don't want the baby to be dealing with all that. And all of a sudden she's in labor and the contractions. And she's like, get me some drugs. And he's like, no, no, you don't want that. No, no, I do. And all of a sudden, like, until the heat of battle, how would you have ever known? You know, I listened to a comedian once, and it reminds me of you and your wife. The guy says, you know, when I got married, my father took me to the side and he said, son, we got to have this talk. I mean, you're about to do something that I know you want to do it, but I just don't think you understand it yet. So I'm going to ask you one simple question. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? He's like, what is he really asking me here? And now, 24 years later, I know what he meant. When I'm walking to the car with the golf clubs and my wife says, hey, where are you going? I'm like, just putting these in the car. I'll be right in to clean the floor and do the dishes for you. And then I have to secretly call my buddies and say, sorry, I can't make it. Luckily, your marriage isn't quite like that. But I mean, you never know. It could be if you kept telling your wife what to do.
Right? But I've learned not to. I've learned to negotiate. And you have to do the same things in friendships where do you want to be right or do you want to be friends? And you don't
That's
always
right.
have to be right. You can let somebody be wrong about something. You can accept to be wrong yourself and continue the friendship. Because there's an old phrase, do you want to die on this anthill? Like it's an anthill, it's little. Or would you rather go fight in the mountain?
It's like Lord of the Flies, you know, like there's some things that just aren't worth the damage they can cause. And if I
Yeah.
were to tell you all the ways that you're wrong, well, there's a difference in speaking of a fact versus an opinion. And that's something a lot of people confuse. Now, my opinion is that Michael Jackson said he stole everything he had from James Brown. Now, James Brown had some fancy footwork, and before Michael Jackson, nobody cut a rug like James Brown. I had that conversation with a girl once. I said, can you believe it? I mean, James Brown like basically laid the footwork for everything Michael Jackson did, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, Michael's amazing." It says, "Yeah, and he said himself he stole it from James Brown." She's like, "I don't agree with that." You don't have to agree with it. Michael Jackson said it himself. She's like, "Well, your facts aren't my facts." There's only one fact, not yours or mine. Come on. And all of a sudden, we never talked again.
Hmm.
Come on. I'm not going to tell you that blue is green. I mean, there's just some things we have to agree, and other things we can disagree. But we can't challenge the fact that coffee's awesome or that we're crazy. I mean, those are the facts.
Those are the facts.
But I will say, I'd rather be in the company of people who are crazy because at least then I feel like I blend in.
Yeah.
Telling you, whoever let us out of the nut house, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Well, I mean, this is just an example of the kind of things that we touch on in life. And really, we're not trying to put on a script this time. We're trying to talk like we normally would, because we don't want people to think we're just here to lecture you. We're here to talk as we normally would with each other. And believe it or not, even when we're just meeting for coffee, and even in a public place, we have these highs, lows, these deep moments. We have powerful conversations, and sometimes we're just like, "Hey, what's up?" He's like, "Oh, I got this look from my wife. She's like, I will set you ablaze right now." And I'm like, "Whoa, what made your wife so angry?" He's like, I forgot to say goodbye when I left the house." Oh, man. But the truth is, Stephanie's actually really awesome. She's not that petty, but I will say I'm more afraid of her than you.
She's the better half.
Yeah, I will say, but no offense. Well, I think the lessons we've learned, though, is you never know when or where the opportunities will open, and you never know who could make a difference in your life. But if both of us hadn't been open to it, there's a lot of blessings we have today we wouldn't know.
Very true.
Well, with that being said, I think it's a good time to discuss our song of the day, because something we touched on earlier is how few people really appreciate what they have. And it's not necessarily because something else is gone, but how many of us truly appreciate the time and the effort we give each other as friends, and the fact that we have them, we have a roof over our heads. I mean, what we've got. And this is a song about somebody who, like most of us at times, he forgets to appreciate what he's got, because all he can feel is what's gone. And I think lately a lot of us are feeling that.
Yeah, it's a tough time for a lot of people, and they're feeling very isolated, very alone. So I just want to encourage people to reach out to somebody
Yes.
and just say hi, just say hello. And I saw a meme that said, you can tell who your true friends are through this time because they're the ones that's reaching out to you. And then it went on to correct itself, and it said, no, that's not fair at all. You can't play that kind of narcissism on other people, because you can't expect people to be going through this time and thinking, well, I need to reach out to Sam, well, I need to reach out to John, well, I need to reach out to Michael. We need to be friends that are there for each other when we're there for each other. And maybe they were thinking the same thing about you. Man, why doesn't Alex care about me? He hasn't reached out to me. And so friendship is a two-way street. And so
It is.
let's both drive down it.
And it's just as important, though, don't make people feel like you're calling them because, hey, this virus is pretty scary. You want to come over and, just talk? Call them up because you miss them. You want to see them. Let them know they are what's important. And it's not because you're both afraid of a virus, because this too shall pass. And we have endured great great catastrophes. We have endured, we have overcome, and we will do it again. And the greatest minds in the entire planet are working on this day and night. Nobody is going to be stopped by this. Now, we never know when our time is up, and there will be lives lost, but humanity will rise above. We will get through this, and we still have each other. And with that, Alex, thanks for doing this with me, buddy. I'm really glad that somebody out there is as crazy as me who can make me look good, because that's not easy to do.
Look in the mirror, you look good. And so next week's topic is the importance of faith, and we may have a special guest. Really looking forward to that.
We're going to have a special guest who is not only a pastor, but he's also a professional mental health worker. And the reason we've asked him to be a part of this is we're not talking just about God and Jesus. Now, I'm not saying that to trivialize those two things, because those are extremely important to a lot of people. What we're talking about is it's just as important to have faith in your friends. I trust in Alex. I have faith in him as a person. I trust him to do his part. And when he does for me, he does out of the goodness of his heart. It's not because he owes me something. We have faith in one another. We have faith in the things and the people and the places that we believe in. And John is going to help us express to you in a way far more eloquently than I can the importance of faith, not just in yourself, not just in your friends, but in the process of life. And that we're going to leave you with words of thought. Thank you all for being here. Enjoy this song. God bless you all. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Michael. See ya.
I feel a little blue, 'cause I can't sew. There's still a lot of things that I should know. Anyone can guess I don't know how to press my Saturday clothes. Everyone's going home. I feel a little sad to watch them leave, but I'll be cool because I don't believe the happy times are gone. I can still put on my Saturday clothes. Every warm body knows I've got to tell you that was a swell time. So now I'll take the butts away and put the glasses on the tray. I'll see you all next Saturday.
Such a beautiful thought to think you have friends. But sometimes we all forget to appreciate them. That's something we should work on.
And if my gal were here, I'd still be on. But in a week or two, there's lots of things to do in my Saturday clothes. Everyone's gone home. I've got to tell you that was a swell time. So now I'll take the butts away and put the glasses on the tray. I'll see you all next Saturday.